welcome back to our podcast. Thank you so much for sticking with us and being here. This is Coming Out Stories, and I'm Emma Goswell. So it's brought to you by What Goes On Media, and as you'd probably expect, we're in the business of bringing you extraordinary coming out stories from across our beautiful LGBTQ+ community. Now, I do feel like I start every single episode with an apology about how we haven't brought out an episode for eons, as I've been busy doing a myriad of paid jobs and chasing a toddler, and this episode is no exception. I am so sorry it's such a long time between episodes. Believe me, I have thought about abandoning it many a time. But then every time I do, I'm reminded about how we're not really going forwards when it comes to LGB and especially T rights. We're going backwards, aren't we? Rights are being rescinded left, right and centre, both here in the UK and especially in the United States. The far-right homophobic and anti-trans brigade, I feel like they're being emboldened with every Union Jack that goes up on a flagpole here in the UK or every sporting body that bans trans women. And I do believe that now, more than ever, we have to share positive stories from our community. So let's get cracking. Let's hear another one. Time now to hear from a young lesbian poet living and working in Manchester. And get ready for her coming out stories first. We will end with a poem. Yes, really. And you guessed it, it's about coming out. Before we get there, though, let's meet Amy L. King. Her pronouns are she, her, and she might be living in a big gay-centric city now, but she was born in the late 90s in Grimsby, which is on the Lincolnshire coast, which she said was not really a hotbed of lesbian action.
Yeah, it's sort of like a very small seaside town. There's not a ton going on. There's definitely a very limited, if not any existing sort of queer scene there. So
yeah. They don't have a Grimsby Pride.
No, they don't. I think you know what? I think there was a Cleethorpes Pride, like a little go of it a few years ago. There was like a gay bar at one point. Actually, there was two. There was one in Cleethorpes that was called, I think it was called Silhouettes. I was like, oh, I know, sounds very saucy. And then they opened like a drag bar on the sort of high, like just off the high street in Grimsby, just before COVID, which was like wild to hear about because there was nothing like that growing up. And I think apparently it had drag and it also sold carveries, which I just thought was the funniest thing in the world. So you could have like a roast dinner and watch drag.
Now, this is quite an American thing.
Is it?
Yeah, I've just remembered in Portland, in Oregon, there are lots and lots of like steakhouses and restaurants with like strip bars or drag bars. It sort of goes hand in hand.
It does make sense because I guess like thinking about our scene in Manchester, like there's so many places where you can see drag anywhere, if you're having like a drink or having food. But like thinking Grimsby, that to me feels really like I've never seen or heard anything like it. I didn't get to go because it was COVID as well, and then I think it shut down after a little while. But there's like a little bit of effort. But like growing up, there was nothing. I didn't know gay people existed really. I didn't know anybody who was queer in any way. My only real reference of any queer people was when we sit down as a family to watch Gok Wan's Fashion Fix on a Tuesday.
Oh, okay, that's an interesting one. So a gay man that was prevalent on TV at the time. Would this have been the noughties?
Yeah, it would have been, wouldn't it? I guess even then I didn't know what I was seeing. In terms of like I just thought, oh God, he's this really confident, really quite flamboyant man who's really into fashion. And like it wasn't kind of explicitly said that he was gay. Or queer in any way. I think it was just sort of like an unspoken known thing, but like that was my only reference growing up.
And what sort of vibes were you getting from your parents or everyone else in your family? Was it acceptable? Was it cool?
It was probably quite cool, just in terms of like, oh, he's a bit interesting, he's a bit different, but like there was never anything explicit about being like, oh, he's different maybe because of sexuality or because of the way he's presenting himself, but there wasn't really kind of any hostility. Like it was just not really talked about. We didn't talk about queer things as a family.
Now, how much do you think you were affected by Clause 28? Because I guess it was sort of been and gone by the time you were at school. Was it, or was it still illegal for teachers to talk about LGBT issues?
I don't think it was probably illegal, but it definitely wasn't spoken. No, and I think about this a lot because I think about things like the sex education we were having in school and how kind of crowd us all into the lunch hall and we talk about sex ed stuff, but like looking back, there was never mention of anything queer, which I imagine was a lot of people's experiences. Like I hear about schools now and there's probably, they've got like LGBT clubs and like, it's really exciting to think, oh, kids are probably, seeing themselves at least reflected in maybe the lessons they're having and the the ways they're being educated.
It's interesting. I think it was Schools Out did a survey, and it was years after Section 28 was abolished. I don't remember the exact statistics, but a high proportion of teachers and schools thought that they still couldn't talk about it. You know, no matter what had happened legislatively, people hadn't changed what they were teaching kids in schools.
God, it's wild, isn't it? But like, I'm not surprised the legacy's there long, because until someone kind of like explicitly says to you, like, by the way, there might be queer kids in the school, you can talk about these things. Like, I guess it's not on the forefront of anyone's mind. I didn't know anybody in school there was really no gay kind of identifying boys, or even like boys who people suspected. Really, that wasn't a thing. I remember there was one girl who played a lot of football who was a little bit more masculine. I think everyone called her, I don't know, everyone was very, you know, the way kids are quite mean. I think people were like, oh, maybe she's a lesbian. But that was it. And there was just nothing. And like, I know a lot of people since who have come out sort of years down the line, but I just think
we're always there.
if we're not out. I just think it's funny, like, how there wasn't even like a whisper of it, or there wasn't any conversation.
And was there bullying then? You mentioned this one girl who was more sort of demonstrating that she might be different. Was she getting bullied?
Maybe a little bit, but I think, you know, kids were all just kind of looking for any reason to pick on each other in the way they do. So there was still probably definitely an air of like, you didn't want to be called a lesbian, you didn't want to be called gay.
And you didn't have your short hair then, which I must point out you have got now. We're going to talk about that later. Yeah, the haircut was definitely a thing, wasn't it? So you were sort of passing as just being a heteronormative child.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know. I didn't have a clue. Like, thank God I didn't probably even know lesbians were real till I was about 15. So like throughout school, I just had absolutely no clue we existed in any way, which seems wild now, because I'm like, God, it's just like, if anyone would have just been like, by the way, that's the thing you could be, that would have, like, a light bulb would have gone off. But I just thought that all the girls I knew who fancied boys, I thought it was just like some big lie that we were all telling ourselves, that like, I just thought no one really wanted to date them or like kiss them or anything, but like no one was talking about it. So I was like, I'll just play it along then if we're all kind of doing this.
Oh, who did you pretend to fancy then?
Oh, it was a couple of boys, but I think I probably wanted to like not even be one of them, but just kind of be on their level, just in terms of like confidence and just sort of just not giving a shit about things and just wanting to just be myself, but like didn't really know what that meant, and like wasn't interested in them. I think I dated a couple of them, but like in that very loose way where you maybe like go out for 2 weeks and then you break up in the playground.
There was definitely no sexual things going on.
No, nothing. I don't think I even kissed them. I think if they got anywhere near me, I'd be like, nope, we're done, that's it. But I get
it's over. It's been lovely while it lasted.
I remember I had one boyfriend in college for like, again, a few weeks. And I remember thinking, I'm gonna have to end it. And I like took him down the beach, because like at home there's just the beach. So if you need to go for a walk or a talk, you do it there. And I took him down the beach. I said, I'm sorry, I don't think we're gonna work out. And I remember he called me a self-fulfilling prophecy and told me that like if I kept, breaking up with boys, I was going to be alone forever, and was very much like, you're ruining your own chances. And I remember thinking, God, am I breaking all these boys' hearts? It put like a bit of a fear in me, I guess, of being like, something's wrong.
Were you confused at this time? Did you have no inkling that maybe you were just barking up the wrong tree, batting for the wrong side?
It's so funny to look back, because like, anyone who knows me now will be like, I don't know, I feel like I'm quite a vocal, quite clear lesbian. Like, if you saw me, you wouldn't be asking me where my boyfriend is anymore. But
no,
but I think at the time I just didn't even consider it was a possibility. I felt it was really kind of sad for me, for little me looking back, thinking like, I knew there was something going on, but there was just nobody to talk to about it. And I guess probably like could have Googled things, but didn't really think about it.
So go on then, when and where did the penny drop? What happened?
In that classic way, when you fall in love with your best mate. No, it was good. It was cute. After secondary school, when I go into college, I did like one of those kind of summer camp things where you'll kind of go away as teenagers and you just kind of mess about in a field for weeks and do abseiling and stuff. And I remember meeting a girl there. She was openly queer, kind of probably identifying as gay at the time. And she kind of walked in this like Avril Lavigne t-shirt, and she was so like tomboy, and I was just really enamored by her from the start. And like thought that was friendship. And then I definitely had like a lot of friendships with girls growing up that felt like, so like when you're teenagers and you fall out over something, it felt like heartbreak. Like I remember like when me and one of my best friends, when I was probably like 11 or 12, fell out, like I remember listening to Adele on repeat and just treating it like a really big heartbreak. And I think looking back, I'm like, it's because I was probably a bit in love, or like having like really deep crushes but not understanding them, and just thinking, this is what female friendship feels like. And then kind of met my friend we became like really good friends and sort of good friends through college, and it kind of started becoming things where maybe like at parties we'd sort of maybe like hold hands or kind of linger around each other, and at that point I was definitely confused, but I was kind of like leaning into something without wanting to name it.
How old were you now?
So I was probably like 17, 18. I had this kind of best friend, and we were like having a lot of sleepovers and kind of like holding hands, and sort of there was a lot of like probably tension, not really. And she was out, so like I knew I probably again lent into it without really wanting to sort of like question what was going on for myself. It all felt quite innocent, like I don't know. I wanted it, but I didn't know what's happening, but it felt good.
And did it happen eventually?
It did. We were together about 4 years in the end, which was lovely. It was such a nice first love. Like I think a lot about how lucky I was to sort of meet someone, and then sort of I went away to uni and she was still at home, and we sort of kind of long distance it for a little while, because I was only in Sheffield, but like when you're 18, I guess, and like you've got to pay like probably 30 quid to get the train. We didn't see each other a lot. So I kind of rocked up in Sheffield, kind of freshly out with a new girlfriend straight off the bat, kind of long distance, and sort of like had to come out for the first time to people. And like she was the only person who knew at that point, because we were just kind of...
So you were having a relationship in secret?
Yeah. And like my mum cottoned on, because she was like, she was saying to me once, she was like, you brush your teeth every time this friend's coming round. And I was like, oh yeah, it's because we fancy each other, and I think we're in a relationship. And she was like, that's okay, I think I knew. And she was really cool about it.
And that was it? That was the moment?
Yeah, it kind of felt a little bit, when you expect something to be a lot more kind of like there'll be that huge kind of moment, and it feels like this like rush of emotions, and you kind of have that little kind of like get to tell your thing, and her mum was like, yeah, I knew that was going on.
But she sort of was letting you know that she knew by saying, I've noticed you brush your teeth a lot when this girl comes around. I mean, it's one way of acknowledging it, isn't it? It's quite a subtle way of your mum, actually.
Yeah, she was really, I think again, she didn't probably really know what to say or how to support me, but she was fine with it.
I mean, you could have lied and thought, I'm not ready for this moment yet, and gone, shut up, mum. That's the sort of thing I might have said.
I felt very embarrassed, but like I was still very nervous and didn't really kind of talk so much about it then. And like I didn't tell my dad for a little while. I think it took like a whole another year of sort of being at uni and kind of making friends with a lot of people, because there was no one I grew up with who at that time I knew was queer in any way.
You don't think she would have told him?
No, she didn't, bless her. She didn't tell him that. And she was treating it, bless her, almost like it was her secret as well. Like she was like, I can't live like this anymore. And I was like, you're not gay, you don't have to, like, you're fine, you don't have to tell anyone. But I think for her it probably was hard to like keep a secret all that time. And then eventually I did tell my dad, and he was fine. He was, again, probably in that dad way of like, yeah, cool, that's all right.
Was that a sit-down moment, conversation with him?
Yeah, he came to visit me sort of probably about a year into living in Sheffield, and we just had like a day together. And I remember I sort of took this opportunity when he was telling me about one of his friend's daughters who had just found out she was pregnant, and she was kind of my age, so we were only kind of like 18, 19. He was like, oh, so-and-so's pregnant. And I just really took that and was like, oh, well, I'm not pregnant, but I'm gay. And he was like, yeah, okay. And that was probably a weird way to tell him, but I don't know, I think it just felt like there would be no good time to do it, or like I wouldn't know what to say in terms, because it felt so new to me still. And I think like there was friends I kind of definitely like kept my relationship from for a long time, and I felt probably at the time didn't feel guilty, because I was like, what's my secret? I'll tell them when I'm ready. But looking back, I'm like, oh, bless. When I did tell my friends, they're often really like, I wish you'd told me sooner. And I probably wish I had too.
And they hadn't realised, they hadn't gotten on.
No, I was very much under wraps. I think I told quite a few people at uni, but then again, when you're at uni, like first year, you kind of putting yourself out there and like reinventing, aren't you? And sort of everything feels new, and like you're meeting a lot of like people who maybe share similar lives to you. So I met my best friend at uni, who was out as bisexual from when she was like 14. So she was like my guardian angel, and still is. And she was the first person who was like, it's fine, like you don't have to worry, like it's okay, it's great, actually, you're gonna have a great time. And then sort of life got exciting from there, and then I sort of kind of found my way.
Did you have any siblings to come out to, or other members of the family?
I'm a little weird only child, so it was just kind of me. And again, I think maybe if I had siblings, I would have had someone to like confide in that way, but just didn't know any queer people and didn't know where to begin. And I think so much for younger people now, or anybody, like it's so hard to kind of get your footing if you don't have anything to reference. Like I didn't really watch, there wasn't really much on TV. I think Orange is the New Black was my big like first queer show, which I think I must have started watching it when it was like probably like in season 2, so there was that whole first season to kind of binge. It was massive, and it felt kind of like a bit like naughty to watching it. And just in terms of like, because like a lot of it was for the like, obviously for the plot, but also for the like, just the representation and seeing like women kind of being queer and having sex and just like talking about these things. And that felt thrilling. Like it was exciting.
Well, you probably missed the L Word, did you?
Yeah, I didn't really. I've seen. My biggest shame is that I've still never really watched all the L Word, which is.
Is that just because you're too young? You're still in your 20s?
Yeah, I think a lot of my friends. I think my friends binged it, and I've watched odd bits. I think at one point I'll sit down and watch the whole thing, and like I know like all the classic characters and all the tropes through it, but I think I watched a show called 100. That was a big show at one point. That had like a really big kind of queer plot line that was like treated really badly, actually. The writers kind of really butchered it. And there was a big like sort of backlash from queer communities being like, I don't know, don't just treat it as like characters who can be kind of killed off. And
lesbians are always either killed off or they're the serial killer.
Yeah, they're always killing us. And like, I guess like Killing Eve was a massive time. But again, it's not giving us like the easiest representation, is it? Like,
it's not great, is it? I mean, she's very good at killing people, but maybe not the best lesbian.
And it was very like sexy and very like, I guess like exciting to watch. But there just wasn't the TV, I guess, when I was coming out. Apart from things like maybe like American Netflix like stuff you could binge. I was watching. I went to Shibden Hall the other day and was thinking about when I first watched like Gentleman Jack, and that felt really exciting. And kind of learning more about like Anne Lister's life and a relationship with Anne Walker. Again, I think like once I started kind of delving into this world, I started like wanting more and more of it. And that's when you kind of, at least for me, when I started seeking it out and like trying to find specifically queer TV or books or film that like we could see ourselves in.
Yes, if you've never heard of Anne Lister, go and look her up, especially if you're a lesbian. When did she live? She lived somewhere...
the 1800s. I think she died in 1840.
Right, okay.
So she was like early 1800s. Really powerful.
And she married, inverted commas, not a real marriage, in her girlfriend in a church in York. You can go and see the plaque in York. Have you been? I've been to that as well.
No, I've not been to that, but her house is really beautiful, and there's loads of just like interesting, I guess, kind of facts about her life and the way she lived really openly, and like how I think a lot of men really didn't like her in the way that I guess a lot of men aren't a big fan of lesbians these days. But yeah, she came up against a lot, but she kind of really held her own and she didn't back down. Her whole thing was like running Shibden Hall in Halifax and like wanting to, I guess, kind of take control of the estate and the money coming in, and people thought she'd be a pushover, and she just wasn't. She just took no shit.
She was a badass lesbian from history.
She was.
We love her. Although she wasn't out. I mean, she wrote a lot of her diaries in the code, didn't she?
Yeah, and then someone cracked the code, didn't they? And sort of uncovered her life. But she kind of kept these diaries about all the women she kind of met, and I guess like conquered. Yeah. She's a very interesting woman. But yeah, I think a lot of my sort of understanding of my sexuality and just like lesbian history has come just throughout the years of just like seeking it out and trying to find the information, because like nobody offers you on a plate. It's like, oh, do you want to find out about our history? Like you've got to go find it a lot of the time, or like meet other women who care about the history.
So you obviously came out very well at university, and you were quite confident being out and proud. And do you still feel confident being out and proud? Notably, you have moved from Grimsby to Manchester. Was that partly a decision based on your sexuality as well as job opportunities, do you think?
Yeah, I think a few different things. I think Sheffield, even then I was out, but I don't think I was confident. Like I think I was out as gay for a couple of years. Then sort of, I had a moment where I was like, maybe I'm bisexual, which I think, was a valid thing to think about, just because I'd never really wanted to explore that part of my life. And then sort of quickly snogged a few boys and was like, nah, this is not for me in any way. I kept going, yeah. It just every sort of was like, maybe. And then I was like, nah, it's just not. And that was great for me. And then sort of came out, sort of moved to Manchester, lived here for about 6 years. It's only the last few years, I'd say, I've really like settled into words like lesbian and dyke, and they've started feeling comfortable, because I think queer was a really good word for me for a while, just while I was sort of working that out. And I know a lot of people have different relationships with it. I guess it kind of feels open and fluid enough that you don't have to kind of pinpoint any specific thing about yourself.
It does now. I certainly know some older gay men who find the word abhorrent because that's what they were shouted at the playground. It was a real slur, that word. I know we've sort of reimagined it now and reclaimed it, haven't we?
We have, and I think the reclaiming of words like lesbian have felt really powerful to me, because like, again, people still don't like it. Like I know a lot of people who maybe worry about, I guess, like awful kind of like TERF groups who have maybe adopted language and sort of almost make it seem like lesbians aren't supportive of other members of LGBT communities, but obviously, like, I guess those of us who definitely don't identify with any of that horrible ideology know that lesbians have always been here for their trans siblings and like for different pockets of the queer community, and are always kind of all the forefront of those fights. And I guess the big thing about it is like solidarity for me of being a lesbian. Yeah.
Shall we talk about your hair now?
Yeah.
Because was that a significant moment? Because it's funny, isn't it? How we will have, you know, I have a relationship with my hair in that when I realised that I was gay, I decided to grow it because I thought that would mean that I would be incognito. And it's absolutely bonkers idea, the whole thing really, wasn't it? But
Did you cut your hair off?
well, I had short hair in the 80s anyway. But then when I realised I was gay at the end of the 80s, I grew it. Thinking, this'll fool everyone, they'll never know. What an absolute idiot. But we have weird relationships with our hair and our image, don't we, I think?
We do. So yeah, for me, I had like really long, dark kind of brown curly hair, like almost like to like kind of like hip level for a long time when I was growing up, and then sort of kept it long for most of my teenage years, for most of uni, and then kind of slowly went to like a bob for a couple of years, and then sort of in 2023 just cut the whole lot off and went short. So like, yeah, now for anyone who doesn't know what I look like, I have like a sort of short back and sides and a bit of a longer fringe. My favourite version of it is when it's like short to the skin and like freshly cut. And it's funny because people do treat you differently now, I think. But I quite like it because now men just kind of leave me alone, which works great.
Do you think it's working for you then, looking much more obviously like a lesbian?
Yeah, because I think about this a lot because I know a lot of like butch women and lesbian women who don't have short hair like this, but you can still get that sort of energy from them, I think, in terms of like you can just, the same way we see each other in public and you think you're also probably a dyke. And I love what that does, and I think for me having short hair, it's allowed me to just like feel beautiful in a different way. I think a lot of people sort of mourned some sort of beauty I'd lost by cutting off my hair and were like, oh, but you know, you were so much prettier before. And I was like, I don't think I want to be pretty. I don't think any of that feels appealing to me now. Like I want to feel beautiful as this version of myself, and I do. It feels nice to have short hair and just lean into some sort of like masculinity, but also like just kind of something that just feels inherently dykey.
I don't know why beauty's attached to having long hair. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it's just like I feel very beautiful now. Like,
quite right, Amy.
Thank you. It's fun. It feels weird to say that, but I'm also like, well, I don't know. This is like for me what feels like the best version of myself, because I feel like I'm completely myself now, and like I'm not trying to appeal to any sort of male gaze or like any kind of patriarchal gaze that sort of attaches beauty to, I guess, femininity. And it's like, oh, for me, like I think being seen as beautiful by other queer people and by like my girlfriend, that feels real to me. That doesn't feel like it needs to be for anybody else.
Quite right. Right, let's talk about work a bit, because it sounds like I don't know everything that you've done, but I feel like you've kind of gone down a sort of gay book of jobs sort of route. You have worked for gay organisations, haven't you?
I have. So I used to work for a charity called LGBT Foundation in Manchester. They've been running since 1975, and like had sort of one of the OG helplines, I guess, when they were sort of like in the back room of some sort of pub or like someone's house where like they delivered a helpline, and then it's sort of a charity that's branched out from there. But worked there for a long time. Also been a writer for a very long time, so my background's in poetry and a lot of performance poetry, but lately more sort of kind of, I guess what we call it, page poetry and kind of writing and publishing. So yeah.
Do you see yourself as a lesbian poet, or are you just a poet who happens to be a lesbian? I mean, because you do write about your sexuality a fair bit, don't you?
I do. I think probably by nature I am a lesbian poet. Like even when it's not about being a lesbian, I think my lens of the world is coming from that perspective, and I love that. And I think I don't shy away from my work at all. And like I think sometimes we can worry about like, I don't know, I definitely worry like, oh, I'm being too much. And I'm like, I don't give a damn if I'm too much. Like I'm because I feel like, again, so much of my life was seeing so few kind of proud women who are lesbians or proud queer women speaking out. And just when I see people, especially people online, who are so clear in their like confidence, and like, I would choose to be a lesbian every day if I could, like this is the only life I want, like I want to be a part of that, I guess, because I think it helped me so much to see other women being so happy and being so overjoyed that this was their life. So like getting to do that as well and be like, oh yeah, my poetry is inherently, I guess, about my queerness and my lesbian identity and just like who I love and about women and all these things. It feels important.
And I know you do a lot of, or have done in the past, a lot of performance poetry, and you performed at lots of venues across Manchester, certainly. And what sort of reaction do you get if it's not specifically like a gay event, if you've got a mixed crowd?
Oh, it's mixed. I remember one time I did a set in a pub with probably some like kind of queer poems. And I came off stage and a man just was like, "You're frightening." And I was like, "Thank you. That's such a great..."
I've seen Amy do a poem. She's not frightened. But maybe to him, he was threatened by you.
I think as well, like I came from a real like slam poetry background. So like so much of that is like you've got like your 3 minutes and you kind of almost want to like set your whole stall out in those 3 minutes. So there's less nuance. It's more like on the nose, in your face poetry, which is a corner of the poetry world I love, because like slam is so interesting in the way it works, and like trying to make something competitive that's like inherently creative is weird. I'd say my poetry in terms of quality is probably better now. But back in the day, I was just like, you're going to listen to me talk about my feelings on pride and being gay, and just kind of like shouting that really, really loudly. Probably not with that much craft involved, but I loved it. And so yeah, that's always been interesting. And like I've had words like like frightening and like fierce and things like that in spaces that aren't inherently queer. But a lot of the time, I feel like you just kind of naturally find the queers in the room, or like you go to an event and someone's also talking about similar stuff, and it's nice to feel that overlap, because then you do feel immediately like, cool, at least someone in this room is going to get it. And even if everyone else is looking at your blank and being like, that was interesting, like you're kind of like, oh, it's fine. Like the people I want to hear my poetry and like get it, I feel like probably do. And then if anybody else enjoys it as well, that's a bonus. But I guess a lot of it is specifically for other lesbians and queer people, and then like occasionally for my mum and like other people who might also enjoy it.
Do your parents love your poetry?
Yeah, they do. I think my dad, like I write a lot of stuff that's for me, and then sometimes I'll try and write about them and for them. And like I've got a poem, like I've written about, my dad does a lot of walking football, so I've written about that before for him, and he loves that. And like I write a lot about my mum, and because my mum's a hairdresser, so like I write a lot about, again, my relationship to hair, and then also how she was like the only one cutting my hair for a long time, and like looking different now and sort of having quite a different presentation of myself, I think has been a bit of her adjusting, mainly just because it's like someone else cutting my hair, which was like a bit devastating for her. I think she's like, how dare you let someone else do this? And then also just like, again, kind of getting used to this version of me. But now she's like, I love your hair like this. It really suits you. My gran really likes it as well, which I think is cute, because she's like 95.
So did you have to come out to your gran?
I have tried. I don't know how much she understands at this point, but like I definitely have like been like, oh, this is my girlfriend. And like I think maybe like if it had been maybe like 5 or 10 years earlier, she might have been a bit more sort of in tune with it. But like she's pretty happy. She's always like, oh, you look so beautiful. And I'm like, that's nice, gran. Thank you.
Wonderful. So it sounds like you've had not too difficult a journey coming out, but I always ask people for advice towards the end. So would you have any advice for someone who's, worried about coming out, particularly as a lesbian, and just a bit unsure like you were as to what their identity might be?
Oh, I think don't panic, first off. Like just kind of take a bit of time. Like you don't owe anybody your story until you're ready. And like, I don't know, it can feel awful to kind of not tell those people closest to you, but I think just don't rush yourself. Like me and one of my best friends when we were 18 came out to each other. Weirdly, he came out as gay and I came out as a lesbian, well, kind of queer at the time, like to each other in Wetherspoons when we were 18. And that felt massive. And we were just like, oh, it's just me and you. But I think just come out to people when you're ready, and just also like find your people, or find your community. Like for years I was so lucky to be surrounded by a lot of gay men and a lot of bisexual women, and I just really wanted a lesbian community as well. I was like, I want to meet people who just kind of get it, and like there are communities out there and there are people everywhere who share similar like experiences and interests to you. So just like be patient with yourself, and like you will find your people. They're there.
It helps if you move to a big city.
It does. Maybe it is getting out of the small towns that does help. And like, not everyone can do that. But yeah, just like keep yourself safe and don't feel like you have to tell people until you feel ready. That's a big one as well. So it's all going to be okay, essentially.
It really is. Now, I think it would be a lovely idea to hear some of your poetry. There's no point in just talking about your poetry. Why don't we hear a poem of yours, Amy, about coming out? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's great. So this is a little bit of a poem called Coming Out in Wetherspoons, which I wrote years ago. It is all based on like a true story of me and another friend sort of kind of gearing up to tell him sort of about knowing about my queerness. So yeah, this is a part of that poem. So this is Coming Out in Wetherspoons. We are 3 pictures in, hidden in the back corner of the top floor like baubles in an attic. His gran asked if we were a couple again before he left the house in a smart shirt. And as I slurp the last of the purple rain, he looks at me with a wobble and says, Aim, I need to tell you something. And I reply, me too. I need you to know I'm gay. He breathes. And I reply, me too. And any confusion we have in that moment is smothered in sweetness, like icing sugar on a burnt sponge, and we lunge our hands into each other's, holding on to the way acceptance feels, and we agree our pact to marry at 50 still stands, but the in-between bits will be just grand, and there is no chance anyone is happier than us in Wetherspoons right now. And when I look my heart in the eye for the first time all night, she says, I don't want to do this forever. And I tell her, give it time. For me. Just give it time.
I love that. Let's have a round of applause. That was great. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for chatting to me. It's been lovely.
Fabulous. How lush to have a bit of poetry on the podcast. Oh, we are cultured, aren't we? Love it. Oh, thank you so much to Amy. It feels like a long time ago I sat down with her, but yeah, fabulous to hear from her. That was only a snippet of her poetry, of course, and if you want to find out more or follow her exploits, she is Amy L. King Poet on Insta. Next time on the podcast, you'll get to meet an LGBTQ+ wedding planner based in New York City. Jason Mitchell-Kahn is a gay man who has a gay sister and a mum who worked in musical theatre.
Well, I mean, I often think, I don't know what my mother would have done had she had a straight son. I mean, she's the target audience for gay children. Not only being in theater, but just their sort of taste level. I mean, my mom's two favorite artists still are Bette Midler and Barbra Streisand. So, I mean, I grew up with, them singing in my house, and it's like almost I had no choice than to be gay.
She wanted gay children. She switched on to the gay agenda.
100%.